Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
Delighted to welcome to the show Scott Baradell. How you doing, Scott?
Good. How are you?
I am living the dream, baby, every single day. Now, we've warned about this for a while. Is it starting to appear? What am I talking about? Deep fake voices and even videos of the likes of Joe Biden and Donald Trump saying things that their supporters or potential supporters might be going, what? Except it's fake. Is that happening already, or are we just still worried about it happening?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely happening. One of the incidences that occurred right before the New Hampshire primary was there was a political consultant named Stephen Kramer who had robocalls made 2 days before the New Hampshire primary with an AI version of Joe Biden saying, this is a bunch of malarkey, don't vote in the primary, in an effort to kind of depress votes for Biden to show there was not enthusiasm for him. So this was a consultant who was opposed, obviously, to Biden, who has just been fined $2 million by the Federal Communications Commission for this. So he was caught in that case, but you can guess that's a drop in the bucket of all that we're going to be seeing.
Right. So he broke a rule or he broke a law? With the regulatory structure we have today, whether it's a rule or a law, I don't know, but it's against FCC regulations, that's for sure. Well, I was just thinking with the Chevron ruling, if stuff is against rules and not laws, well, that potentially is something that might go away. Maybe he's got an appeal. Okay, so that happened. All we've got is the FCC. So that, if you've got a political consultant in this country doing stuff like that, if we catch them, they're going to get heavily fined. Having said that, what if it comes from Russia?
Well, as we found, that's very difficult. And, big picture, you go back to 2016 and that's a time when more people were reading their news, and that's where this whole term fake news came from these kind of mills in Eastern Europe and Russia that were
China
producing a lot of fake news. This was things like, Hillary Clinton is funding ISIS and things. And this was all being shared literally by millions of people on Facebook. And it was a real issue. Now, of course, Donald Trump changed the meaning of the term fake news when he said, no, actually CNN is fake news. But the original definition was these kind of mills that had no pretense of producing something accurate. They were just trying to produce something viral that would be spread among one political group or another. That was 2016. Now, 2024, people aren't on Facebook as much as they are on TikTok, Instagram, very visual media. And so it's kind of a perfect storm because now we've got all this AI that enables video, deepfakes, and audio, what they call voice cloning, which is the audio version of deepfakes, which is all over the place. And imagine you're going through a TikTok feed and you see it. How are you going to know whether it's true or false? A lot of people don't stop to verify.
But it also gives us a situation, doesn't it, where we can have an administration. I'm not trying to make a political point here. I'm not trying to drag you into a conversation that maybe you weren't prepared for. But we had a situation where the White House, there's videos out there. They're going viral. It is of President Biden. We've been talking about George Clooney and the fundraiser today. It was at the end of that fundraiser, and he had to be helped off stage because he was staring blankly at the audience. The White House goes ahead and uses that language and says, no, these were cheap fakes, which we know they weren't. So the political parties, that's one example. I'm sure the Republicans are perfectly capable of doing something similar. But the political parties are now using that because, well, we understand there's people trying to fake us, right? So they can now use it and say something genuine is fake, and people don't know what to believe.
Absolutely. And, of course, when we talk about cheap fakes, what we're talking about is not really using AI so much as just the way you edit something or using Photoshop or something simple, not some sophisticated AI tool to manipulate. A lot of times with videos like that, it's just you're either showing part of it, or you're showing just the worst part of it as opposed to the full context, and that can have the same effect.
Yeah. Well, they showed all of it, and they still used it because you know what it means. Right. But the vast majority of the population, the White House is saying it's cheap fakes. The vast majority of the population now thinks this is a complete setup. It's totally fraud. It doesn't matter what it means. It's the perception. Perception is truth.
Well, and I think it touches on a point, to the extent that the political parties can use that and what they label as cheap or deep fakes to their advantage. Maybe they'll actually be producing these to their advantage. You mentioned at the outset that the idea would be producing a deep fake of Joe Biden or Donald Trump saying things that would, that that their supporters wouldn't like. But with Joe Biden's situation, there's been some Republicans saying they're worried that Democrats will produce deep fakes of Joe Biden sounding like Joe Biden 10 years ago when he had it more together. And as opposed to, people aren't going, there's only a limited number of people that would watch a debate. They see these videos. If you're countering that with videos where he sounded like, in the debate 12 years ago, then you're like, oh, what do I believe? So it's definitely going to be a very confusing election season for voters.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Scott, fascinating conversation. It's going to be an interesting election, that is for sure, and we will see what we will see. Scott is an expert on branding and, ironically, trust. Whether or not we...
ironic all the time.
Yes, right. What do we trust in this day and age? Ideagrove.com, IDEA Grove.com is how you find out more. So go check him out. Scott, thanks for coming on. Going to be an interesting day, to say the least. You take care, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.